16th day of May and the year of our Lord 2024. You have come to be with me early Thursday morning for Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. Thursday morning, reading from Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. That's the book I wrote some time ago and trying now to get a second edition done. But you know what? I'm really glad for the people who tune in every week, and I'm glad for the people who send me email responses, because I send out this a meditation every single week, and I have a pretty large following now. And people send back notices and notes, and they say they're getting something out of them, which makes my soul sing. So for those of you who are on the list, thank you for responding, and I hope that you're sharing them. And for those of you who believe in intercessory prayer, keep praying that I will get a second edition done some kind of way and in the very near future. So, you know, I'm still concerned about how I don't think people are really understanding what's at stake with this upcoming election. So I had this very spirited conversation with my son yesterday or 2 days ago. And he said, "Ma, are you voting for Biden?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because I don't want the former president to be back in office." "How can you vote for somebody?" Talking about Biden, he is supporting genocide in Gaza. And I said, I know, and it's not good. It's not good. But I'm not going to vote for anybody else, which makes it that much more likely that the former president will be back in office. I am disturbed. And I told him what I'm worried about is our rights. I'm worried about these people getting in office and just taking total control of us. For some people, I guess it doesn't bother you. It bothers me. And I was telling him how I wanted to keep Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. I said, I wonder what's going to happen to the old people and the young people, excuse me, women of childbearing age. I might get pregnant, and all these crazy draconian laws and rules they're coming up with. I don't want that for my children, for my grandchildren, for my great grandchildren, and for all the children to come. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want us to not be able to have a public protest if we want. I don't want us to have to worship the way some clowns in office say we have to worship. You tell me what to do. I'm just really mad about the things that they're trying to do. And I'm also mad because in the process of all that's going on, I told my son, I said, I really would like for there to be at least the appearance of justice, and an appearance for law across the board. And what I'm irritated by is all these very rich people being able to sidestep and get around laws, the quote rule of law, which does not exist. We know now that rule of law and law and order are phrases that are used as code words to keep, Black people and people who are protesting and under control. So you see the rule of law thing coming up when the students are protesting on the campuses, and it's just disgusting to me. But I told him I am disturbed about the Gaza situation. I am disturbed that the United States has been funding Israel's, wars for a very long time. I'm disturbed about all of that. And I'm heartbroken. I'm more than disturbed. I'm heartbroken that innocent thousands, 30,000, 40,000 innocent Palestinians have been killed in this thing, and that the United States is supporting it, supplying Israel with weapons, which it has done for a very long time. I am. But I'm also disturbed about the genocide that goes on here in this country. I'm worried about the genocide that goes on in Sudan. I'm worried about all of these reckless leaders all over the world who just because they want to and because they have the power and the money to do it, decide to kill innocent people so that they can gain more power. I'm really irritated about that. So, my son and I went back and forth and back and forth. And I said, at the end of the day, I'm not going to try to convince you to vote for anybody. You vote your conscience. I think I know that a vote for a third party candidate is actually a vote for the former president. It is disgusting and it's scary to me. But you are your own person. I said, but if the former president wins and he does all of this stuff that he's talking about, then I really don't want to hear anything from you or from anybody else that votes for a third party candidate. I'm just right there. But as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about how one of the goals of these people who want to be in power is to get rid of public education. They don't want it. And I keep thinking, if they get rid of public education, what happens to us, the poor people, the masses? Um, what they want is to have public funds that now go to public schools to be diverted and go to parents who want to send their kids to private or religious schools. And it makes me wonder what's going to happen to, like I said, like happen to the masses of us. I'm just really, I'm worried about it. I'm worried about us as a country. There was a story about this woman in Texas. She was a far right. She is a far right talk show host, and she had taken in and embraced and bought into all of the hard right rhetoric about, all of the things that are going on in public schools and how they're teaching our kids to, you know, be leftist in essence. I don't want to go through all the things that you're talking about. So she ran for school board and she won a seat, and she decided she was going to go through the curricula of all of the schools, all of the schools. And what she found was what had been reported by right-wing media was not true. There weren't in the curriculum, there were not efforts to bribe kids or to lead kids to think about sexuality in a certain way. They there was no what do you call it, critical race theory. There was none of that. None of that. She said what she actually saw were curricula that were really teaching the kids how to be good to each other, how to be good people. So she disavowed that right wing rhetoric publicly. And she, of course, got stood on the feet, on the hands of the people who had gotten her into office, but she didn't care, and I admire that kind of courage. And of course, she's gotten threatened to the hilt. But public education is under attack because of all the stuff that's being talked about. And so, and you need to know that these people who want to be in office want to abolish the Department of Education, which means that a whole bunch of people are going to lose their jobs if that gets into place. And they want to shut down public schools as we know them and turn them into private schools and have people attend using vouchers. I'm kind of putting it all in a nutshell because this is not a platform to talk about all of that in detail. But I'm trying to tell you something on today. I'm trying to tell you that teachers and administrators could lose their jobs. What the right wing wants to get rid of is the strong labor unions, the National Education, the American Federation of Teachers, and one other one. They want to get rid of them because these are very powerful unions, and hardcore conservatism really despises or resents labor because labor is, gets the masses against these people who have all this money. Organized people are always stronger than organized money. And what these unions represent are organized people. So there's a lot at stake. And I told my son, I said, I don't want it so that my daughter, if she decides to get pregnant, or future children, grandchildren, or if they decide to get pregnant, I don't want them to have their lives in jeopardy because somebody who's never been pregnant, has made laws that makes it impossible for them to get needed medical care if they needed to save their own lives. See, I would be mad. I would just really be mad. I'm already kind of on the verge of, well, no, I'm already just mad. I'm just mad because I don't want that to be. And it just beguiles me. It really bothers me that these people think that they can come and force their wills on and their desires and their principles on everybody. Now, they would say that the leftists have forced their principles on everybody. And, and in all honesty, there's that kind of stuff politically on both sides. I don't think there's a pure good political party. Politics is politics, and people play the game to win. I understand that. But at this point, it feels like the people on the left the people in power on the left, some of them, are working to protect the people like us who work. We work, and they get the benefits of our labor. There's something noble, I think, about doing that, protecting those, because, like Fannie Lou Hamer said, until all of us are free, none of us are free. And if you're poor, you're not free. If you're poor, you're not free. And so there's something admirable and noble about that. And I want that. I want it to be increased. Now, I do think that when people vote, they ought to hold their elected officials accountable. So let's say you vote for a Democratic ticket all the way down ballot, because remember, you really do have to vote locally as well, because what happens locally is far more important and far more impactful than what goes on in Washington, D.C. But when you vote people in office, you are responsible. We are responsible for holding their feet to the fire. We want to be lazy. Democracy is not for the lazy. Democracy is for those who know that you have to fight. You always have to fight. The fight never ends. In South Africa, they would say, a luta continua. So I'm wanting you to think about look it up, look up public education, look up what the and see what the conservatives want to do with public education, and then kind of sit down and have a conversation with yourself and ask yourself, is that okay? Is that what I want for my life, for my children, for my grandchildren? Is that what I want? Ask yourself some questions. Read a little bit about it. Ask some questions of others and ask some questions of yourself. What do you want the world to look like for your children and your grandchildren and all those children coming after them? We have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to protect them, the ones that are born and the ones yet to be born. So that's my rant for today. Really thinking about public education and how I just cherish it. And let me just put this other footnote in there. You know, when Brown v. Board of Education passed in 1954, all these people were acting so holy, like they always follow the laws. They just ignore the law. These people on the, who don't want there to be freedom and justice for all, they just ignore the laws they don't like. And then they have the audacity to talk about this is a country of laws and we follow the rule of law. These people, rather than send their kids to integrated schools, set up private schools, had schools in their houses and all of that. So, this is a battle that's been going on for a long time. I think a lot of people, conservatives have been angry since the Board of Education was passed. Many of the people said this was going to be an excuse and a way for black men to rape white women and their kids. What are you talking about? It's just, it was a way to sully the race. We need to understand what has been passed so we can understand the present and make sure that we don't send some foolishness over into the future. So really true. That's the end of my rant on today. So thank you for being here today. And today I'm reading the meditation that I sent out to everybody on Tuesday. And remember that if you want to get these meditations, you just email me at crazyfaith2019@gmail.com and I will put you on the list. And I also want to ask you, if you watch this, and if you go to our YouTube page, Crazy Faith Ministries, Columbus, Ohio, if you go there and watch it there, please like and subscribe to that channel because we're trying to get our numbers up. We're trying to increase our family. Let me put it that way. So that would be great if you would do that. All right. But anyway, here's the meditation from Tuesday, embracing our pain. It is a fact that nobody gets through this life without experiencing pain, the kind that cannot be fixed by a visit to the doctor or with a pill. We all experience pain of the soul, caused by any number of traumas in our lives. We don't know what to do with it. We are not sure of who to talk to about it, and so we carry it. Carrying it and ignoring it is like having a tumor and ignoring it. That tumor will keep on growing until it either causes us to be very ill or it kills us. Daniel Beatty, an award-winning actor, writer, and activist, says in his book, Transforming Pain to Power, that, quote, we must resist owning up to the kind of pain just described. He says, though, that here's the quote, there comes a time when we must embrace the pain instead of attempting to resist it or pretending that the pain is not there or living with the effects of the pain without truly investigating its root. There comes a time when we must go in to come out, end quote. Isn't that a great quote? There comes a time when we must go in to come out. That which we resist, he says, persists. Beatty describes the sadness he carried for much of his life. He hid it and did not talk about it, hiding it from others as he desperately tried to hide it from himself. But he could not do the latter. It crept up and out at moments he should have been at his happiest, including his graduation from Yale University, when he received one of the highest honors to be awarded to an undergraduate. And he writes of that time, as I stood in front of the thousands of people to be honored, I felt deeply sad inside, end quote. As he got older, the pain grew more intense, so much so that he was forced to examine it, and he realized that it was caused by the abandonment of his father. His story reminds me of Richard Smallwood, the master musician whose music I absolutely, totally love, but who wrote songs that lifted people all over the world, but who carried sadness caused by deep depression for much of his life. He said he would feel okay while he was on stage, but after the concert, he would go into his dressing room where the sadness and the depression met him at the door and would just come falling down on him. He said he often sat in his dressing room reeling from his pain for hours, and he said he felt like a hypocrite, writing and performing songs that, brought the crowds to their feet and inspired them when he could not even help himself. He had to embrace his pain, finally, and had to seek help. He had to talk about and uncover the seeds of despair that had been fertilized by his wounded spirit. The more he talked about it, the freer he became until now, where he talks freely about his journey. We have these things that we don't want to talk about. We are embarrassed. You can't be embarrassed about being depressed and sad because it's part of so many people's lives. And I think that when you talk about it, you free other people up and they say, well, she talked about it. I can talk about mine too. And that's what we want. Our pain exists for a reason. In this period of political turmoil, many people are finding that the pain caused by what's going on in the world is nudging the pain caused by events in our lives. So they're conflating those two pains, the outside pain, inside pain, and we are miserable. Some are so miserable, though they will not talk about it, that they are quietly backing away from the public political chaos, not understanding that as they do that, they are also backing away from the personal pain that has caused an inflammation in their souls. Backing away from the public pain will not result in the personal pain disappearing. It will merely find a way to stay within us, augmented and fed by the chaos we are experiencing in the world. There is beauty and power in the pain we carry, but only if we dare look at it and embrace it. When we can begin to talk about it and share it in ways and places we never would have thought, we are on a trajectory of healing. Pain enjoys having dominion over us. I personified it, but pain would rather us suffer. It enjoys having dominion over us, leading us to feel, see, and think things that only increase it. Pain would rather we back away and sit down in a saucer. There's some little Sally Walker sitting in a saucer. Pain would rather be going sit in a saucer somewhere, bewailing our fate, as opposed to looking the pain in the face and declaring that it is not the boss of us. Richard Smallwood dealt with the pain of others, as we all do, even when his own pain was eating him alive. When he wrote the song Total Praise, he was caring for his ailing mother, a terminally ill god brother, and the emotional problems of his foster brother. His own pain constantly putting more pressure on his spirit, he still did not address it, but instead wrote music that helped him handle the pain caused by his role of caregiver for the people he loved most. He was hurting in secret, he wrote. While he wrote that there was a balm in Gilead, y'all know that song, there is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul, to heal the soul. He realized that his own soul was not healing, and mostly because he would not talk about it. His pain was so great that he got to the point where he could not get out of bed and would not get into the shower. He isolated himself unless there was a concert. He finally sought someone with whom he could talk so that he could understand what he was feeling and hiding. As he embraced the pain, he began to get free of its clutches. What Smallwood did, minister to people, though he was unable to minister to himself, is what too many clergy and professional people do. As Smallwood's music lifted thousands, so do the stirring sermons of pastors and electrifying lessons of teachers. But unless and until we embrace our own pain, the reach of our ministries of preaching and teaching will not ever become what it should be, nor will our lives, if we're not in any profession, will never reach the potential and the purpose for which God created us, because God created us all to do a specific thing. Smallwood wrote, quote, there's healing, in that song, Healing, he said, the words are, there's healing for your spirit, healing for your pain, healing for your sorrow. There's shelter from the rain. Lord, send a healing, for this we know. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the soul. Powerful words. On this day and in this time, the prayer is that we will all embrace our pain and go in so that let me start that again. On this day and in this time, the prayer is that we embrace our pain and go in so we can come out. The world needs the voices of the prophets and the teachers and the people who are just living everyday lives who really want to help do good in this world. You don't have to have a title to do that. Your soul has to be right with God. The world needs you. The world needs it. The world needs the voices of those who believe in the justice of God and who will help others understand and believe in it as well. Embrace your pain and be free. Amen and amen. So that is our meditation for today on this 16th day of May. I'm trying to rush this out quicker than it's supposed to be. 16th day of May. Next week, we'll be into the Memorial Day holiday season. I do not believe it because it's going so fast. But take some time, y'all, to think about what I'm talking about. Take some time to educate yourself on the issues. Take some time to think about what your life would be like if you didn't have freedom of religion, freedom of speech, if there was no public education, if they took away your Medicare, your Medicaid, your Social Security. You know, Ronald Reagan, I told you this last week, Ronald Reagan, um, in 1983 passed some amendments. He had those tremendous tax cuts for the wealthy. He started talking about trickle down economics. And what he did was he taxed Social Security to pay for the tax cuts that he gave the wealthy. There is something wrong with that. There is something wrong with putting more economic stress on the people who have the least money. So think about it. Think about your own life. Think about what your life would be like if the public schools were no longer. Think about what you would do if you work for a government agency that's connected with education. If they, get rid of the Department of Education, if you lose your job, think about it, because you know what? There's so much at stake. We're not thinking about it. Some people want this quote strong man. I don't even know what that is, but what you really want to know, what you really want to have is your freedom to be, your freedom, your freedom. You don't want to live in a country like Russia where journalists, although I think there are very few journalists anymore, but people who call themselves journalists who really go after the truth and expose the garbage. You don't want to live in a country where they are murdered like Putin murders the journalists in Russia. You don't want that, I don't think. Do you? I don't. I don't. So think about it on this Thursday, May 16th. Embrace your pain. And thank you again for coming and being with me. I will see you again next week. Have a